Today I'm going to model for you the beginnings of developing the concepts of rounding. There are two TEKS that involve rounding in third grade. First, we will focus on 3.2c, which sets the stage for rounding by having students represent numbers on a number line as being between two consecutive multiples of 10, 100, 1,000, or 10,000. This TEK will support your students by making it easier for them to estimate solutions when solving more complex problems, which helps develop the concept of reasonableness. To begin, you're going to give your students number lines just like I have here. They need to have multiples on each end, either multiples of 10, multiples of 100, multiples of 1,000, or 10,000, and they need to have a tick mark to represent the midpoint. So your first step is developing the concept with your students of what is the midpoint. It's not common knowledge, I can tell you that. So start with 0 to 10 and ask students, what's the middle number between 0 and 10? 5. So then what would be the middle number between 60 and 70? It would be 65. Then ask them, well, what's the midpoint between 0 and 100? May have to figure this out, may not be 100% sure and explore this. It's 50. So then what would the midpoint be between 600 and 700? It would be 650. And then you need to do that with 1,000. 0 to 1,000, what would be the midpoint? 500. So between 6,000 and 7,000, what would be the midpoint? 6,500. As well as with 10,000. Between 0 and 10,000, what would be the midpoint? 5,000. So between 60,000 and 70,000, what would be the midpoint? 65,000. Once you've explored this concept of a midpoint, you are then going to give them a number that they are going to place on the number line, and they must be able to describe in words the relative size of the number in order to round. So for example, in this situation, I'm going to give the number 64. Students need to be able to describe in words that 64 is closer to 60, or it's nearly 60, or it's close to 60 because it's before the midpoint or before the halfway mark. They also need to be able to do this on number lines with multiples of 100. So in this case, what if I gave the number 680? We would want the students to be able to describe in words that 680 is closer to 700, or it's nearly 700, or it's more than halfway, so it's closer to 700. Be sure that students are able to represent numbers on number lines like this as being between two consecutive multiples of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. Be sure to provide enough practice for the students so they'll be able to estimate solutions.